Hi everyone, welcome to this session on rebooting positive habits using digital tools. In the next 30 minutes, you'll be with me, Liz Hardwick, and I'll be sharing some of my top tips, sharing some slides, sharing some activities, and sharing some top takeaways that you can get started on straight away. So in this session, if you'd like to watch it live, you'll also be able to replay it at a later date, but also the ability to share it as well. So if you think there's someone else that might be of benefit to doing this, or if you want to actually share some habits together, or use the habits as a way of accountability for a couple of you or a team, that can always be a really nice way to get started on habits, or for this particular topic, rebooting them. So the idea being, normally I do this at the start of the year, so January. So if you're listening to this live now, it's February. So we've had the time to start habits, start new intentions, new routines, might not have gone to plan. And so this is a bit of a reboot to do that. I do a lot of work with clients around productivity, and the two biggest times of year for starting new intentions, resolutions, new ways of doing things, it isn't really surprising, but it's January and September. So if it happens to be that you're seeking this video out at those times of year as well, then that will work. But actually, you have the ability to reboot habits, reboot intentions, reboot the way you do things at any time of year. So as much as this is live now in February, you absolutely can replay this at any time and still seek lots of benefit from it. The top tips will be relevant for a long time to come. The apps and tools, the screenshots that I've shared today might be a little bit out of date by the time you get to them if it's a few years after, but still relevant in terms of the processes and the types of things and the way that we do things. Okie dokie. So that's what we've got planned for the next just short on half an hour together. I hope you get loads of benefit from it. And let's get going. I want to share my slides, so I'm going to do that as we go. So there's some helpful stuff as we go along the way there. So hopefully this is the topic that you're most interested in for now. It's rebooting positive habits with digital tools. So where are we going with the next 30 minutes together? We're going to look at some top digital habit trackers and useful features within them. I'm going to share the one that I use and then see if there's relevant features that you might be using, or help you at least decide on a particular app if you are finding that actually the tracking bit is the thing that you're most interested in. We'll also look at why when you do something can actually really matter, and why different people have different times of day that they might be optimal to do particular tasks. We'll get into that later. How to reduce procrastination and create the action. So if you're at that point at the moment where you've tried some habits, but you're getting stuck for some reason, we'll look at some of the things to actually kickstart you and move you forwards. Some simple strategies that anyone can achieve. And then also some power user tips around reminders for habits. That is specifically digital, but a lot of these, if you think about how it might help you do an analog thing. So the task that you want as the habit might be analog, might be non-digital, but you could use digital to help you with the habits. That's why it's helping with the support in terms of the topic of this session for today. So I wanted us just to reflect for a second. So it's great to listen to loads of things, loads of top tips, but actually, why can be as much of the issue sometimes as how. So first off, if you've met me before, you'll know I ask this question a lot of the time in a lot of the sessions that I deliver. But have a reflect just now on how productive, not busy, your week has been so far. A scale of 1 to 10. You've got a piece of paper handy, you might want to write it down. This is a great check-in. Yes, it's not specific to habits, it's an overall umbrella, but within that, you might find there's certain things you're doing or inadvertently not doing. This is where the habits slot into it. Are there things that on reflection, if your number you feel is quite low, how can you actually help with that? How can you increase that number up to 10, and 10 being the awesome level that we want to all get up to? Also, depending on what time of the week it is, you might not have actually got much done so far. It might be a heavy end to the week. So how can you balance that? That within itself, if you reflect on that question on a regular basis, a little check-in. Okay, how am I feeling today? How productive am I? Rate of a 1 to 10. Okay, I'm a 6. How could I increase that? A lot of the times it's habits. How are we doing things? Are we procrastinating, overdoing things as well? So that can be an added bonus. So a great way to start us off in terms of actually what's the impact on us doing certain things. And the phrases that I'm using in terms of habit, that habit could be something we do all the time or something we do on a regular basis. So we'll delve a little bit deeper into that as we go through this session. Okie dokie. So next question, which specifically is about habits. Why do you need to reboot your habit? You've come to this session and probably got two scenarios. You've looked, you've gone, oh, it's Liz. Oh, Liz normally does an awesome session. I'll come and listen and see if I can pick up any top tips. Might be that you're interested in me and what I've got to say versus the topic, but thought might be able to bring something to it. Might be that you watch this particular series of programs on a regular basis, so it's just part of your repertoire, part of your habit to actually watch these sorts of webinars. Or the second scenario is you have been engaged by the topic, the reboot element of the topic. So why do you need to reboot it? What is the answer? Just again, scribble down some notes if you can do as we go. What isn't going well with it? Why do you feel like you need to reboot it? Is it a distraction? Is it you've taken on too much too soon? Are you expecting things to change very quickly? We all start in January with massive intentions, massive resolutions. I'm not a fan of resolutions. I like the intention of like, I am going to be healthier this year rather than I'm going to lose X amount of pounds on this particular day. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So is that where that habit, that reboot is needed? Because again, a lot of the time, the why and the behind the scenes and the history can actually be helpful to move us forward, to understand the way that we work, what works best for us, and reflecting on that can actually help us really get more productive longer term, especially with some of these habits that we're talking about today. Fabulous. So I mentioned some of you might have met me before at different online or in-person conferences. I am a professional speaker, I'm a qualified trainer, and I talk a lot around digital skills, digital techniques, tools, and digital productivity, which habits I think very much slots into. I travel around the world. I do stuff online as well. And I think it's really helpful to have routines in place to do that. If you're at a desk all day, or if you're traveling around, your set of routines, your set of habits can really help you do that. I absolutely love to travel for work and personal as well. I absolutely love French pressed coffee. That might come up in the conversation we have this afternoon. It normally does. And also the idea of being digital for human benefit. That's what I'm absolutely about. Yes, there are loads of shiny things out there. Yes, there are loads of tools out there. But I'll share with you one tool today that I've been using for years and is still my top one. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the new shiny technology. We have something that will help us and is for human benefit. That's what I'm all about. And then also a lot of these things have actually enabled me to work a 5-day week in 4. I do work for myself, so I do have that luxury to be able to dictate my own hours. But even just the element of reducing the amount of procrastination or overwhelm so you have more time to do other things could also be the case as well. And again, habits are part of that. So welcome to those of you who've never met me before. Hello again, if we've met on something previous. So where do we go first? Normally, I like to start with a bit of a stat, a bit of a set the scene, a bit of data to back up why we're here together and what we can do to help us along the way. Again, the human benefit thing. So what are my two numbers about there? 21 and 90. Now you might guess the 21. There is a lot of research out there and also conflicting research as well. So again, do your own homework if you want the specific answers. This is what I've gone with based on our internal research with our clients. We do a lot of productivity coaching as well. So this slots into it in terms of habits, and the research we found backs these numbers up. So what are the numbers about? The 21 is about the days it takes to consecutively do a habit, action a habit, for it to become a habit. We use the word habit there. So 21 days to create a habit. The 90 is the 90 days to embed it into your lifestyle, for it to become so natural that you regularly do it. So think about, we'll all brush our teeth at some point in the day. We'll have that habit. It will have become nature to us. It will become natural. We'll do it. We'll probably do it and we won't really be thinking about it. That's when it's been embedded into our life and into our lifestyle. So how do we do that? How do we keep on top of things? It is that sustained, repetitive process. Now, I'll share with you today some things, that habits that aren't daily. So that number then needs to be how many days you complete an action. So for example, if you wanted to do a weekly task, a weekly habit, you would want to do 21 weeks and then 90 sets of weeks to make that happen, 90 days to split that up into weeks. My math's not the greatest, so 90 days times across the week. So 90 weeks in effect. But the consistency is that element of it. Okay, so next then, have a think about, we're going to move on to top digital habit trackers and their uses. Now, I'm going to share the one that I use. I use it day in, day out. I use it multiple times a day. It's one of the most opened things on my mobile device. But also it's helpful to just give an idea of what a habit tracker might do. You might never have used one. You might already have one. Brilliant. It's just about using it and being consistent about using it as well. So the one I use is called Habit Bull. I really like it because when I train people on it, it works on both iOS and Android. So generally it looks similar across the board, depending on what device you've got going on and what operating system you use. So it's brilliant to track things, and the things that we track, the item, the action, it could be anything. The concept is that we don't want to break the chain of days we do it. So it might be daily. So the simple one is every day of the week, we're going to drink more water. So we might want to track drinking more water on a regular basis. We can say, okay, we don't want to break the chain. We want to have a streak of colours. So in some of those screenshots there, you'll see the dots. So they've got green dots, red dot is where we've not achieved it. So we try and keep the chain as we go. Now, yes, that works very simply for daily tasks, because you just go every day, tick, tick, tick. But it might be a little bit more complex. So maybe you do something once a week, once a month, once a quarter. So that's where digital habit trackers come even more useful than maybe the paper-based trackers. Maybe if you've got a diary or a paper journal, you might have a habit tracker inside that. It might be you want to use some of these digital tools to remind you to fill in the paper. I appreciate a lot of people do journaling and love the idea of pen and paper. However, we can use the digital to just go, remind yourself to do some journaling today. Oh yes, brilliant. And then go and get the piece of paper version and do that way. So it doesn't always have to be doing the thing using digital. It can be the reminder to do the thing. And we'll come on to reminders later on. Okie dokie. So what does my habit tracker do? And what would I be suggesting? If you don't want to pick that one, that's fine. But I would be looking out for the features. Again, not necessarily picking the most shiniest app out there on the market. Looking at the features and thinking, what do I need this app to do? What do I need to achieve by using this? It could be that it's a free one. Habit Bull, I love because it is free. And then there's a pro version. Some of them go straight onto pro versions. So again, do the shopping around, see which one you like. User interfaces, the way it looks, all looks slightly different for different variations. You can have plants grow, and you grow a little forest every time you do an activity. You can get really kind of gamification into it if you're interested in that. This one is a simple one. Just tracker, numbers, click. So what type of tracking can we do with digital? We've got the traditional, yes, we've done something. So tick, 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 tick. The majority, excuse me, the majority of paper-based things will just have the yes or a circle where you can tick it every day. That's what I'd say, yes, no. No might be the cross, or no could be red in terms of the habit bull feature. There's also some apps out there that do the gradient of colour. So it might be red, amber, green. So with habit tracker specifically, we've got yes, no, we've got numbers. How many of such and such have I done today? So that's really good if you're wanting to track something. Say, I'm going to drink 5 glasses of water every day. And we can track every day the number that we have allocated for that. And then we've also got the ability to add comments. So drunk loads of water today, was out and about, did a walk as well, really healthy, versus the following day in the office, stuck on Zoom all day, couldn't actually, get to go and refill my water bottle. So you can add in comments to understand the data further and better understand, what the struggles might be. Again, this is a reboot habits session. So understanding that data, if you haven't already done that, can be really helpful to see what some of those barriers might be that are being challenging towards you creating a regular habit tracker. So the Habit Ball app has 5 for the free. So you can track 5 habits at any one time for free, or you can do the pay for version and then it's unlimited. The science says we should only try and start no more than 2 new habits at any one time. So that might be the free versions enough. I track absolutely everything. I track work stuff, I track home stuff. Also think about the hats that you have as well, your personal life, your family life, your volunteering responsibilities. You might actually track a load of things other than just the things that you're working on. Okie dokie. So we'll move on. Next up, I want to talk about why when you do something can really matter. The little wolf icon alludes to a thing called chronotypes. There are said to be 4 different types of chronotype of person. You can find out which one you are if you don't already know by going to a website called powerofwhenquiz.com. You can figure out which one you are. Most people can guesstimate which one they are based on the description. So I'll quickly go through those and you can have a bit of a feel for which one they are. Bear is their optimal time. They're at their best just before lunch. They wake up and go to sleep with the sun cycle. I'm a bear. I struggle with mornings, struggle to get started. If you ask me to get up when it's still dark, I'll do it, but I won't be at my best versus just before lunch. So starting to think about how your habits are fitting in with the when that you do things can actually really be a bit of an eye-opener for whether you've had to reboot your habit a few times or not. Lions are early risers, so mornings are the best time for you. It might be you get into the office first thing, get your head down, get loads of stuff done before the rest of the office arrives. You'll also find you'll teeter off between 3 p.m. say that's you done for the day, and you might still be there, but you're not at your optimal at that point. A wolf is the stereotypical night owl. So they're very much evening people. They get started, they're optimal around after lunch once they've fed themselves and they're getting going. And then also dolphins. This is kind of a bit of an anomaly one. Sensitive to light, sensitive to noise. They're very insomniac. They're always on. They might be light sleepers. And they don't fit into one of the general patterns as well. So thinking about how do I make that work for me? Is there a better time to be using, say, my habits to make that happen? So yeah, have a think about when you're doing the habits. If there's a particular one that you want to reboot and try again, when is the best time to do that? Is it the optimal time for me to achieve that? So have a think about that as we go. So next thing, how to reduce procrastination and create the action. I'm going to introduce you now to Lydia. Lydia is one of my clients, and her team, change management company, were struggling to focus. They were getting stuff done, but they were struggling to kind of get motivated and get things done. That initial starting bit, which again can be hand in hand with some of the things, the ideas of rebooting stuff, especially habits. So what we worked with is a process that some of you might have mentioned before, might have heard me mention. I absolutely live. This is my top productivity process in the world. It helps me do my 5-day week in 4. Pomodoro. So the idea being 25 minutes of focused time, set a timer, then have a break. Now, you might feel that 25 minutes is not achievable, or, oh God, 25 minutes just feels overwhelming. I can't even get it started. Then you might want to reduce that time. You know, what feels like a comfortable time to do something for? Again, if it's a habit, we're just trying to get started, especially, excuse me, if you are struggling with the doing it on a regular basis. And then the app that goes with that is Pomodoro app. I use this one again. I've used it for a good few years now. It's still my favorite. I've tested the new ones that have come out on the market. This is still by far my top one because it integrates with other things. I can see my Pomodoro times. I also link it in with my calendar. So once I've completed a Pomodoro time slot, it actually links in my calendar and tells me so that I can look back at the whole of a week and review how many times have I done that particular action. So this can be really useful for habits because we're tracking how many times in a week have we done something. We can just use our calendars to do that. So we might just want to link the Pomodoro with a calendar. And again, Pomodoro app works with loads of other features as well. Task management tools, project management tools. Again, that's why it's my favorite. So definitely check that out. If you're feeling 25 minutes is overwhelming, I'll give you a second tip in terms of the getting started bit. And it goes hand in hand with the getting things done method. The getting things done method is a process to go through in itself. We won't cover that today. But the element I wanted to share with you was the more than 2 minutes bit. Can you do something within 2 minutes? If you can, do it now. That's the element within the getting things done process by David Allen. So if we take that 2 minutes, what can we achieve in 2 minutes? So if you think Pomodoro's 25 minutes is way too much for your starter habit, can we do something for 2 minutes? There's lots of research that also says we should start a habit by just starting with 2 minutes of whatever habit is you want to do, and then incrementally increase. So if you wanted to do, say, 2 minutes of reading every morning, because I want to read a new book and increase my learning and, you know, kind of process that way. That's my new habit that I want to be able to track. I'm going to do that every day. I'm going to use my habit tracker. Just starting with 2 minutes, that might feel, oh, well, it's not worth it. But if it's not worth it, yet you're not doing it, the 2 minutes could mean that you just start off with the page. You just read a page and then put it down and you're done. And you've achieved that. Sometimes that chain that we're trying not to break, as long as you do something, is going towards that habit, that stream, that kind of repetitive process that our bodies, our minds are starting to learn. So just quickly think about, write some ideas down. What could you do in 2 minutes? What could you do in 2 minutes now? What could you go away from your desk and do? What could we do digitally? Could you, I call this micro tasks. Could you reply to an email? There's just a quick, yeah, brilliant, I'll see you there. Could you reply quickly to a message? Are there things on your to-do list right now that actually could be micro tasks that probably could have been done there and then, rather than becoming a to-do list? And again, that's an aid to procrastination reduction as well, because we can think, right, how do we reduce our workload? The Miracle Morning, which I do for my morning routine, that's by Hal Elrod. He has a 6-step process, and actually what he says is if you're struggling to it says do 10 minutes on each, and then it does 60 minutes, an hour, so you have an hour every morning. If you're not achieving that and you feel that's overwhelming, he suggests doing the 6 things for a minute. So you've got a total of 6 minutes to do something and putting a minute on each task. So even if it's just starting small and then incrementally building up, that might be a top tip to take away from this session. So next up, reminders for power users in terms of habits. So you might be finding that we're forgetting to do the habit because it's not become a habit yet. We're forgetting to do the action that we want to create as a habit. So how do we make that happen? I want to introduce you to Chris, is another one of my clients. He works for the ambulance service in the UK, and he has very structured rota hours. So he'll do a certain set of days, a certain set of nights, and then he'll rotate. He uses reminders to remind him what set of shifts he's on. And that first day, it reminds him 24 hours before, you've got work tomorrow and it's 8 p.m. So he's very much reliant on this second brain in productivity terms, we call it, that sets our reminders and reminds us to do something. So that needs a little bit of setting up, but can be really useful for habits. So here, the behind image, I've just taken a screenshot of my Google Calendar, and I've just added in a regular daily appointment for my morning routine. The fact that I'm putting it into my calendar alongside all the other appointments, it's giving me that accountability and saying that's as important as all the other things in my calendar. So big top tip is just schedule it in. Whatever way, shape or form you use, diaries or schedulers, make sure your habit is in there somewhere. So my daily routine was something that I wanted to work on. I've had a regular daily routine for maybe 4 years now. I reboot it every so often and think, how can I soup it up? You'll notice actually the Monday to Friday is slightly earlier than the weekends. I realised that I was wanting to get up later and do my routine. And again, because I'm a bear, I try and link it with when the sun rises, so I'm not exhausted and struggling to get up in the dark times in the morning, which I now know actually is a barrier to creating my really good habits. So if possible, thinking about that. The little floating image there is talking about notifications. You can notify yourself multiple times. So you could set one notification, then set another. This is Google, but Outlook, loads of other calendar systems do the same. You have the ability to remind yourself, say, 7 days in advance, 1 day in advance, and 30 minutes in advance of a particular task, especially if you're doing things quarterly. It can be good to give yourself a heads up. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a daily routine or a daily habit. And then the screenshot on the left is from my Habit Bull app. Each habit you can set a reminder for. And again, this is why I love Habit Bull specifically, because it's giving me bespoke sound notifications. I can pick a different sound for each habit. So if I'm saying, reminding myself to, and I have it multiple times a day, so reminding myself to drink water every 3 hours, I can have it a repeating appointment between X and Y time every hour, or every 3 hours, say, reminding me with a notification of a sound. And that sound might be a watery sound. So I'm like, oh yeah, I don't even need to look at my phone. I hear the notification go off and I know what that habit means to me. Again, if we're getting into that pattern, that reminder can become part of the habit as well. And again, this can be helpful to assist you in doing paper or non-digital tasks, but can be the reminder that reminds you to do it. Again, using your second brain system to make that happen. And then a final tip, an extra top tip for you, is if you're struggling to do the actual action, think about what is the reward of it. A lot of people, when they talk about kind of health and fitness goals, what is the reward off the back of it? Do you want to look great on holiday? Are you going to go to the beach and sun yourself in a bikini and you want to look a particular way? That end goal, that reward, you can use to focus your energies to, maybe imagery to reflect that. Or it might be as simple as, my default is food. I love a food reward, right? I'm going to do this and I'm going to have some food, which clearly doesn't go hand in hand with health and fitness goals a lot of the time. It's cake, it's biscuit. So thinking what a healthy reward you might have and allocating a reward and planning it as much as equally as you're planning your habit. We put a lot of time and effort into planning our processes or stages or systems. Yeah, if we're going to use a reward as a way of getting us to do it, so we get into the habit, are we planning that bit in? So, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this for 7 days and then reward myself with this at the end. having that clarity on what is the reward. And it doesn't necessarily, it could be paid costly things like food or dinner or wine. But it also might be little things that are free, like I'm going to give myself an extra 5-minute coffee break. If I've done really well and I've smashed all my goals for that day, and actually I've clawed back another 30 minutes, I'm going to take another 5-minute extra coffee break. I'm going to go off, might go out, might go get a fresh air break, might make my own coffee at home at my desk. I might do my nails. I love getting my nails done. I might, spend 10 minutes and do my nails at my desk. So what are the fun things that are going, okay, if I do this, I'm committing myself, and then this is the reward off the back of it. Okay, so have a bit of a think about what those rewards might be for you. I'm going to finish up by giving you the wrap up of the top tips. But before I do, I want to mention my e-learning platform, because there's a lot of things in there that might actually be able to help some of the habits that I've used as examples in this session. elearning.digienable.co.uk. There's lots of 4-week long courses. So, for example, there might be the morning routines thing that actually, you're really interested in finding out a bit more about that. I've got a whole course on that. So check that out. There's also loads of freebies and downloadables on there. For example, I've used morning routines as a great example this morning. There's also a morning checklist tracker on there that you can download for free. You can sign up to my email newsletter list on there. So there's loads of good stuff. So please do, as a next step, you might want to pop that down. So that's elearning.digienable.co.uk. So to wrap up, I want to give you my top tips as a bit of a review. You can take a screenshot of this if you want, or grab your phone and take a photo. These are the things I'd suggest as next steps that you do, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed and want to reboot. If you haven't already, I'd look at creating a habit tracker, either paper or digital. But again, digital has those notifications which really help to keep you on track as a bit of a reminder until you get used to doing the particular action on your own. Keep going. If you've only been doing it a couple of weeks, just keep going, keep going, keep going. If you're feeling like you're not achieving it, but you're still getting to 21 days, have a reward at the end of it. Once I've done 21 days of this, then I'm going to have the reward. And that goes hand in hand with our last tip there. Optimize for your chronotype. If you don't know what your chronotype is, figure that out and then understand when is the best time to do this for me. As much as I have a morning routine, if I'm getting up really early and I'm out of my house for an appointment, and I know it's not my best optimal time to do it because it's still dark, I actually spread my morning routine items across the day. So it might be, if you've got lots of little activities as part of your habit, that you actually want to break those down and split those up into items you can track separately and think about when is the best time to do it. Just do it. Do 25 minutes, put a timer on, put 2-minute timer on, and just do that. Sometimes you get to the 2 minutes and then you keep going because you've got into a bit of a flow. That can be a great way to just do 2 minutes, Liz. Oh God, it feels like so much. Break it down. If it's too big a task, break it down into a small task. Do 2 minutes of that. Use your schedule and reminders. Stick it in your calendar so that you're leaving yourself accountable to that. Put it in your calendar. It's there. It's a fixed appointment. Let's do it. Especially if it's outside of work time. It is your own time. If it's inside work time, are you allocating it at the best time? Even if it has to move around, it's something that you want to do as a habit that, again, will better yourself and your processes. And then the final one, the rewards. What is your reward? How do you want to make it happen? If you need to convince yourself, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to treat myself. Sometimes that could be a great way for working as well. I know my default is actually go and make, I mentioned at the start, my French press coffee, which takes around 7 minutes from start of filling kettle to end. So I give myself an opportunity to sit down and make a fresh press coffee from scratch. Okay. So there's loads more stuff on my website if you want to check it out, lizhardwick.co.uk or digienable.co.uk. But pretty much every social media platform. So if you want to connect on there, please do. LinkedIn and Twitter are my top ones, but pretty much on everything else as well. If you've got any questions, if you'd want to get in touch with me on there, you're more than welcome to. And thank you very much for joining us. I hope that was really helpful. I hope you've taken some tips away that will action straight away to make that habit more focused, and just get it done. Just do the 2 minutes. If you're struggling for anything else, the one takeaway tip from that, if you feel like all of those are overwhelming, is just do 2 minutes. I've been Liz Hardwick. I look forward to joining you on a webinar or an in-person session again soon. Good luck with your productivity.